an interesting little pattern that's occurring, and this isn't something that I would consider a setup per se, but there is an interesting time-based cycle that's happening in the S&P. And we've talked about this in the past, and here we are now for the fourth time, basically pulling back into the wave at a very similar number of days. And this is actually the fourth time now, and here we are inside the wave. What's interesting about this is the question then becomes, is this another buy zone, right? Is this another buy zone? And if you think about the timing, the volatility that we're seeing on the S&P futures, some of this is going to be Friday's expiration. Some of this is going to be end of the week. And then, just sort of we're stuck in a range right now in terms of where the markets are sitting, waiting for taper. What's really interesting about this pullback, both from the standpoint of being buyable and maybe from the standpoint of seeing a significant volatility move before, perhaps heading higher, is on Wednesday of next week, we have the FOMC. And the idea behind this is we're finally going to get some kind of insight into, well, you guessed it, this little guy, taper. That's a taper, by the way. TAPIR, but hey, So the idea now is, are we going to see tapering greater than 15 billion per meeting? And is taper going to start any sooner than November? And as long as that is not more, sooner, or quicker, right? More paced, either a higher amount, more often than every meeting, which is not every month, by the way, and we'll start sooner than November. This market's probably discounted a great deal of that, but we could see a little bit of volatility at simply the announcement of taper before we see a continuation higher. Now, why am I saying a continuation higher? Well, technically, there's not enough here, especially within the S&P and the NASDAQ, for me to say that this uptrend is not intact. So the Federal Reserve could break the uptrend. That is true. But that Wednesday news and one big down candle, if we were to see that, cannot make a downtrend. So I'm wondering here, is this timing right about where we've seen previous moves back to the upside? And that's what's got my attention. Now, I know this is not necessarily, going to keep happening, but this is the fourth time that we've sunk into the wave at right about that same 28 to 30 days, about 19 to 22 sessions in between each move. And it's just too obvious to at least not pay some attention to. And when we think about what Wednesday is going to bring, I won't be surprised to see a break of the 55 exponential as potentially appears, but I will be thinking about potentially getting long. Now, do we have to get long in the S&P? No, I'd prefer to get long the NASDAQ. I'd probably even prefer to take a look at XLK. I will definitely be thinking about XLV and XLF as heavily weighted sectors within the S&P. But I can't help but notice this going into next week, going into this triple witching, that we're sitting right at that interesting mark that we've kind of seen an interesting kind of this rhythm, right? That's all that it is. It just has my interest. It's not a setup on its own. If we dig a little deeper, we'll see that there's a volume ledge just below the 55 exponential. We're sitting at a volume ledge right now, and we have yellow over yellow and our very first red grab candle since the middle of June. This is not a downtrend, but clearly we've moved into a little bit more of a neutral market behavior. Just not enough bearish momentum to establish any kind of precursor to a downtrend. So let's not get ambitiously short or even bearish for that matter and think about where we could still see exhaustion and follow through to the upside with probably a little bit more emphasis on the NAS. But I can't help but notice that rhythm, and here we are once again. Hey traders, Raghee from Simpler Trading. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment below. And remember, subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll get notified of the next update. And when you're ready to join me for live trading, be sure to head on over to simplertrading.com. I'll see you in the next update.